As it's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to someone else who may like it as well. Chaw, I got a doozy for you guys today. The last couple days, they've been hitting me with these letters, man. These letters have been hitting me the last couple of days. So I got a letter from an Aquarius female. She is in her 40s. She told me that over the course of the past 15 years, she has accumulated a great deal of property and wealth and businesses, several different businesses. So about a couple years ago, she met a Pisces guy, and the two of them hit it off swimmingly. They just hit it off immediately. She said 6 months later, he was living with her. They hit it off fast. And they're in a space now where they want to get married. Okay? So the problem is that the Pisces doesn't make a lot of money. The Pisces is a social worker, and he's pretty much broke. Most of his money goes towards his student loans, his car note, things like that. He doesn't make a lot of money. But they've been together all this time. She's the main breadwinner, and that really doesn't bother her. And she doesn't know if it bothers him or not, but it's something that has not been an issue, put it like that. But now that they're talking about getting married, people in her circle, her lawyer, her accountant, her best friend, her mother, people are telling her, look, you need to get a prenuptial agreement, because you're coming into this relationship with a lot more than him, a whole lot more than him. He doesn't have anything. His car is even being leased. It's not even a car note, it's a lease. So he doesn't have anything. When she met him, he was living with his family. And that doesn't bother her. She's fine with that. But now everybody's like, look, you need a prenuptial agreement if you're going to marry him. Everybody likes him. He's accepted by everyone. But they're trying to cover her ass in the event of an issue. So she asked me, should she ask him for a prenuptial agreement, number one? And number two, what's my take on prenuptial agreements? So I'm going to answer the first question. There's no way in hell I would marry him without one. No way. No way. You've worked too hard. You've scrimped, you've sacrificed. You've worked too hard to lose all that you've worked for. That's first and foremost. And a prenuptial agreement isn't for today. Today you're in love. Today things are going well. Today you have plans for a future. And hopefully you'll have those same plans tomorrow and the day after and the day after. But the truth of the matter is, you do not know that, number one. And number two, American weddings, American marriages, 50 to 55% of the time, depending upon whose statistics you read, end in divorce. So you have a huge possibility of your marriage not working. And 50% of them, of course, will. So that means 1 in 2. That's not good odds to me. I would like it better if it was like 70% or something like that. But you don't have good odds is my point. You're in love today, but what happens tomorrow? What happens if he cheats on you? What happens if you cheat on him? What happens if you stop being in love? What happens in these cases? That's what you have to think about. And what's going to happen if you ever decide to get divorced is that then the two of you are going to have to sit down and write out an agreement. But now you're writing out this agreement from a place of anger, a place of hatred in some cases, betrayal, frustration. Most of these situations do not. Some divorces do end amicably. We all know that, but not all of them. And most of them get nasty. So my thing is, before you put yourself in that position, before you end up in that space, why not do the agreement now while you're at a good space? Right now you're at a great space. And you can say, okay, if we decide to dissolve the marriage, we both come into the marriage with what we had, plus whatever we accumulate together, we split 50-50. Now, this is all fair to you both. And it's easy and it's done. And if you're not going to get divorced, it doesn't even matter because you're never even going to need the document. But if anything goes wrong, it covers you both. He doesn't have to go through a lengthy, dragged out divorce. You don't have to worry about him taking you to the cleaners. I know a woman who's a professor, and I used to see this woman while she was married. She had an open relationship, so I was seeing her while she was married. She decided to get divorced a little bit later on. And one of the things that happened is her husband, during the divorce, sued her for use of the car while they were divorcing, actually, during the process. He sued her for use of the car. So she had to let him use, they only had one car, so she had to let him use the car and made an agreement about that. And then she had to give him half of her pension. This man did not work for over a decade. And when they finally broke up, she had to give up half her pension that she was busting her ass for. I mean, she was a professor and she was working it. And then, of course, like I said, the car, she had to give him access to the new car that she had just bought. He didn't put no money into that car. He didn't put no money into the insurance. He didn't put no money into that house. And I think she bought the house before they got married, so she got to keep the house. But the point is that when it was time to get divorced, she ended up without half of her shit. Okay? So male or female, if you're coming in with a lot more than the other person, you have to consider that. And in my opinion, it makes sense, and I would do it. If I had met a woman that was rich right now today, and we decided to get married, and she asked me to sign a prenup, I would sign it. Number one, because I have no intentions upon us breaking up anyway. So that's that. And number two, if we do, at least it's already thought out in a good headspace. When you're not angry, when you're not screaming at each other, when you're not frustrated, it's in a good headspace. Like, you know what? If we ever have to dissolve, this is what's fair to us both. I don't see anything wrong with that. And anybody who won't sign a prenuptial agreement, I have to question their motives. Because it's like, you won't sign it because you think we're going to break up and you're going to want to sue me. Like, why do you not want to sign it? There's no reason not to sign it other than maybe emotion. Some people may feel like if you expect me to sign this, you don't trust me. But I wouldn't really care about that. I would go ahead and sign it. And I wouldn't marry somebody who wouldn't sign it, because that would be a red flag to me. Like, why don't you want to sign it? You know, to me, that's like, are you planning on something? You know, are you planning on something heinous? So me personally, I would ask him. And another thing you said to me, you said, how do I ask him? I would sit down. If you're going to marry somebody, you need to be able to communicate. Marriage is not just about love. It's also about partnership. So I would sit down with him and I would tell him the truth. Exactly what you said to me in the letter is exactly what I would say to him. We're getting ready to get married. I don't care about your financial, situation. But I would like us to do a prenuptial agreement to cover us both in the event that something goes wrong. And if he doesn't want to sign it, I wouldn't get married. I would just continue our relationship as it is. And, I've heard some people say, well, it takes the romance out of marriage, or it takes out, something like that. I've heard before. And I'm just like, it's nothing more than a safety net for you both. It just says that in the event that something goes wrong, you're not going to have to go through a bunch of drama. You have a piece of paper that's already mapped out. You'll both sign your signature on another document. They'll file it in the courthouse and you're free. A person is not always the same when they're not in love. A person who's in love may not do anything harmful. They might do nothing harmful. They might love the ground that you walk on. But a person who's no longer in love may not behave the same as they did before. So it makes sense to do it when you're both in a good headspace. When I got divorced, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any assets together. We were both poor. We were both broke. I didn't have nothing and he didn't have nothing. So we broke up. Our marriage dissolved. It was not a big deal. But he still, even though we had already worked out custody, we had already worked out child support, we'd already worked all those things out, he still refused to sign the damn papers. And I had to deal with him and bug him, and a lawyer had to call him before he finally signed the papers. The person that you marry and the person that you have to divorce are often not the same person. Their attitude has changed, their behavior may have changed, or maybe it was you who has changed. But the point is that it makes sense to do all of this ahead of time. So you guys out there in the comment section, let me know what you think our sister should do. Should she ask him for a prenup? I say 100% yes. Okay? All right, guys, it's time for us to get going. So if you would like to get in contact with me, all my information will be underneath this video. Okay? My Patreon, my PayPal, in case you want to leave a donation, all my social media information, it'll all be there. Thank you for your letter. See you later.